When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that,
I wanted to discuss what will happen in the next movie, in the next episode. So, most definitely in the next episode, as I had mentioned before, we will probably see Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost. I think there's a high chance that we will get that. How much of Luke Skywalker will we get? I don't know. I don't know if we will get any Force abilities or Force used abilities from Force Ghost Luke, but they did show us in this film that it is possible for Force Ghost to affect the physical world. So we will have to see if they will allow Luke to do something outstanding that touches the physical world from beyond the grave. So those are things to think about and to look for in the next film. One of the other things that I also mentioned in my review, I believe that Kylo Ren lied to Rey about her lineage and her parents. I think he did that just to kind of get her, to create more doubt in her, and to get her more willing to join him. I really believe that he was being deceptive about her lineage. Now again, I'm not saying that because I want Rey's parents to be some super Jedis or anything, so it will justify her powers. I just believe that he was lying to her, and one of the things that makes me believe that is, again, if we are to believe that in the Force Awakens, that ship that's taking off in the distance as Rey is screaming out, "Don't go!" If that is indeed her parents, I would have to say that ship is mighty fancy for a couple of junkers. So, and that's what I'm hanging my belief on in regards to Rey's lineage. We may find out that Rey actually comes from a very wealthy family that may be connected to Canto Bight, and her parents may very well be arms dealers who have been dealing these weapons to both sides, to the Resistance and the First Order. That's just a quick assumption on my part, just a quick theory that I came up with. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure somewhere along the line within the next, what do we have, another year and a half or so for the episode 9. I'm sure at some point that probably will be debunked somewhere with some new information that we receive between that time. So the other thing is we most definitely will probably get a significant time jump between episode 8 and 9. The reason why I say that is because with The Last Jedi, I feel as though The Last Jedi felt like it was the third film in a trilogy that was kind of closing certain things out but didn't close everything out, you know? And now what Rian Johnson has left J.J. Abrams to do is now he has to not only rebuild the rebellion so they would be at least some kind of a formidable opponent to the First Order. So that has to be built up. But we also have to deal with the situation with Carrie Fisher and the General Organa character, and obviously Fisher not being able to play that character. So will they announce her death off screen? Will it be in the crawl of episode 9? I don't know. Those are things that we will have to find out once episode 9 comes about, but that is something that we are going to have to deal with. And then, of course, and I know I didn't mention this in my review, but Rey has the books that she took from the tree from Octu. So obviously, or hopefully, Rey will learn something, some new abilities, some new philosophies from these books. Something something that would feed into the lore of Star Wars and the Force. So hopefully we'll get more of that type of information, more of what is actually inside of those books, since Rey still has those books. And obviously, and my assumption is that she will be reading and going through those books. So hopefully we'll get some information out of those books. And then of course, we have the dynamic between Princess Leia and Poe. Poe kind of taking over for Princess Leia as the leader of the Resistance. As we saw at the end of the film, Leia says, "Don't look at me, follow him." So obviously, Poe leading the Resistance is probably one of the things that we can most definitely look forward to in Episode 9. So those are what we can expect for Episode 9.
Discussion video on The Last Jedi, including my subscriber comments and thoughts on the movie that were posted on my Last Jedi spoiler review. As we all know, the opinions have been split amongst the fans. This movie has sparked heated debate, so I wanted to open up some dialogue with some of the thoughts and comments that were shared on my spoiler review, along with some shout outs to some of my most loyal viewers and subscribers who consistently comment and post on my videos. And I really, really appreciate you guys, and I really thank you for being so loyal to the channel. So we're going to get started with going over some of these comments and thoughts on the movie, and open up some dialogue on this movie, and try to, get some understanding amongst the fans in regards to why this movie is so divisive amongst the fans, and what certain fans have a problem with this film, and what certain fans absolutely love about this film. So let's explore those aspects of this very, very interesting discussion here today. All right, guys, so we're going to start out with our first comment here today, and our first comment comes from Raquel Vargas, who is a very loyal viewer, and she comments on all of my videos whenever she has the opportunity to do so. She is a huge Star Wars fan. She is also a great fan of Gotham as well. If you guys follow any of my reaction videos to those, in regards to Star Wars and especially Gotham, you've seen Raquel's comments on my videos, and I want to thank her very, very much for watching and commenting on with the channel. So, guys, Raquel says, a few more thoughts. Snoke's power was awe-inspiring, making me really want to know who he is. But I'm okay finding out in another movie or a novel or even a comic. The fact that he really wasn't essential was fine with me, in that now Kylo Ren will take over and prove his master right. He just is an entitled brat in a mask. I really feel the loss of Snoke is going to weaken the First Order, and there's going to be a power struggle between him and Hux. Ben/Kylo choosing Rey over his master in that moment really put me in that moment, and makes the resultant lightsaber battle so amazing. The following split between he and Rey, a bit more painful as she held out hope. Rey being nobody. This to me was awesome. She has no baggage from the heroes of old to live up to or weigh her down, and she is a hero herself because she decided not to stand by while justice was done. She does what is right and can own her own heroism completely. This is what we all should do and strive to do. It is an idea I'm completely in love with. The Skywalker legacy is coming to a close, and that makes me sad. But we aren't bereft of heroes who will fight to do what is right and save the galaxy. Kenobi, Skywalker, Solo, Organa. Who were they all before? Laugh out loud. I'm just brimming with feelings and thoughts. So, absolutely cool. Love the comment. Love the thoughts. Raquel is always very thoughtful when it comes to her takes on any of my videos, and she really does a really good job. I've always said she needs to have her own YouTube channel because she really does a great job of breaking things down, and I think she does a great job of breaking things down here as well. So I want to actually answer a couple of things here in this comment, because she makes some really good points here in regards to Snoke. I'm right there with you. I'm fine with Snoke being killed off, and you know, and I'm also okay with finding out in a novel or in a comic or in another book. But my whole thing about Snoke is now I just do not care who Snoke is. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, I understand the fact that Snoke was a vehicle in order to get Kylo Ren to where he is. He is now the supreme leader of the First Order, and that's perfect. Now he is the ultimate bad guy for Rey to face, and I get that. They set it up, and it's fine. My problem here is that, in my opinion, Kylo is not a scary figure. He is not Darth Vader. He is not Snoke. He is just exactly what you had said here, and I'm also going to agree with you on your point that the First Order has been weakened. I feel exactly the same way. I feel that the leadership of the First Order has been weakened by the leadership of Kylo Ren. And in regards to that, I don't fear the First Order as much as I did when Snoke was in charge. And that's a bit of a problem for me. I think Kylo has been developed beautifully in this movie. I think he is the most developed character out of the new characters that we received. The unfortunate thing about that is he's not as intimidating as Vader and the Emperor, or Snoke for that matter. And it may be a bit unfair to compare Kylo to his predecessors, but I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan. I've been, as Cassian said, I've been in this struggle since I was 6 years old, and this is what I know. And if you're asking me to buy these new characters and have the same passion for these characters as I did for the past characters, these characters have to not only live up to what their past characters were, but maybe in certain respects they need to be able to surpass what their past, what their predecessors were. And I don't get any of that from Kylo. We definitely don't get any of that from Snoke, because we don't know anything about Snoke, and this is my other problem with Snoke, and I mentioned this in my review. He was built up. We were told, Andy Serkis, the actor who plays Snoke, specifically said that Snoke is more powerful than the Emperor and Vader put together. So this should have been a character that not only was fearful, that you know, made you kind of fear him a bit, but he also should have been just as much, if not more, of a mastermind behind the First Order, such as the Emperor. And we just did not get that from this character, and to me it was a bit of a letdown. So but Raquel, you make an excellent point, and I really do appreciate your thoughts on that. But and you know, that's just how I see Snoke and the rise of Kylo Ren to rule the First Order. And we are in agreement that there's going to be a power struggle between him and Hux, and I think that's a really good dynamic that they're going to put into the next movie. I think that's something that they can really work on and build upon. And also, I wanted to address Rey being a nobody. I have no problem with Rey being a nobody, and I understand the message behind a nobody who can become somebody. That I don't have a problem with that. I think messages like that are important in a family-friendly film. That is a great message for the children, and I respect that. I do respect that. However, I don't have a problem with Rey's parents being nobodies, but I still require an explanation on why she is so powerful. Because to this point, and I've always argued against this whole narrative that Rey is a Mary Sue. I've argued against that, and the reason why I argued against that is because we don't know enough about her to make that assumption that she is a Mary Sue. Now that we are through the first two movies in a trilogy, we still don't know enough about Rey to we still don't have enough of Rey's background to know why she is so powerful, and not only why she is so powerful, but as I had mentioned before, why is it that she is so familiar with things that involve the Force when we have no idea, where that connection comes from. It's a mystery, and I get it. They're keeping it a mystery. I believe that Rey's parents being portrayed as nobodies is a deception. I don't believe that Kylo actually knows that for sure. I think the fact that we are led to believe, again, in the flashback where Rey is watching this ship fly off in the distance, if you look at that ship, I would say that is not a spaceship of junkers who would sell their kids for drinking money. I would actually probably assume that Rey's parents actually come from Canto Bight. They are very well-to-do people, and they may very well be a part of these individuals who are selling weapons to the First Order and the Resistance. I think that might be a more logical theory on who Rey's parents are. They may not specifically be Force-wielding individuals with this great power in the Force, and that's fine. But I just don't believe that they're nobodies in the sense that they're just these junkers who sold her off for drinking money and left her in the desert with Unkar Plutt. And I just don't believe that. I believe Kylo was lying to her in that regard, but we will see, and that will be one of my predictions for the next film, episode 9. Great comment, Raquel. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate that. Okay, and then our next comment comes to us from Joseph Michaels, and then Joseph, guys, is again one of my frequent commenters here on the channel, and Joseph, I want to thank you very, very much for watching the channel and frequently commenting on my videos. So Joseph writes here, Kylo Ren seen the Falcon and said, blast that piece of junk out of the sky. When it came to Luke, he said, I want every gun we have on him right now. The first ever prank call in a Star Wars movie. I loved it. Thank you, Poe Dameron. Laugh out loud. The movie 4 times. Now going again tomorrow for a $5 ticket Tuesday. I loved it. Hated the whole Rey parentage reveal, but the rest of the movie, I loved it. Plus, I've heard so much hate on the whole Finn, Rose, Canto Bight scene, but not once did you hear them all say that the scene was important to note on cause Canto Bight is the First Order control planet. all the rich people there support the First Order because of slavery and cruelty to animals. It made it feel like all the rebellion fought against when the Empire was around, all for nothing because the First Order and people who supported them want the old ways like it was when the Empire ruled the galaxy. And that is something every person, reviewer, never touched upon. And you know what, Joseph, you're right. I did talk about it a little bit in my review in regards to Canto Bight, and they did give us those political overtones in regards to the high society and how they're profiteers off of war and whatnot. And it again, it's a really good message that this movie puts out there. Again, it's Disney. They're going to give you some good family friendly messages in there, and this was a part of it. However, for what this movie was, we got the rebellion. We have the resistance running from the First Order in a desperate situation, and to take this side trip that ultimately led to nothing. It was just a means to get Finn in front of Phasma so we can have this battle between Phasma. If you look at a lot of opinions out there, not everybody, but a lot of opinions, you would find even those who like the movie would tell you that the whole Canto Bight scene was a bit unnecessary for this story, and I actually feel the same way. But I greatly do understand your point, and you do make some really good points, because I did watch a lot of reviews myself, and a lot of people did ignore the political statements that were made in the Canto Bight portion of the movie. But again, I think the reason for that was they felt that that was a bit out of place for the story that was being told in this film. But greatly respect your opinion on that particular portion of the film. So to continue on, Joseph says, plus the whole Chewie and the pork scene, when he was getting ready to eat one of them, he cooked, and they were all giving him that look, please don't eat them. That was very funny, and I totally agree. That was an absolutely great scene, and that's one of the points where the humor absolutely landed in this film. I know a lot of people had a problem with the humor in this film. The humor wasn't particularly a huge issue to me. There were a couple of jokes that didn't really land for me, but I think for the most part, the humor does work in this film, and I really did enjoy it. When Luke cuts himself off from the Force, he began to lose the strength he had to maintain in his older years. That is why when he died at the end, his body could not handle it anymore, because he cut himself off from the Force far too long. Even Yoda knew this. Luke knew he was dying, which is why he settled down on Ahch-To. It was only a matter of time, and by Rey coming there, he found the strength to use the Force again, but it was just too little too late for him. Plus, the scene symbolized something that reflects on the real world. We all grow old and try to live our lives as much as we can, but when your time is up, your time is up. You cannot avoid death. You delay it for as long as humanly possible, but you cannot avoid it. The soundtrack for the movie was damn good too. There was just so much greatness to this movie, and people are going bonkers over it with hate and anger, and then there are those who loved it so much. Me, I just plain loved it. It's not just as a lifelong fan of Star Wars, but as someone who has been around since the very first Star Wars came out in theaters over 40 years ago. Celebrated my 40th birthday Friday, seeing the movie again too. Don't judge me, laugh out loud. My overall final judgment is a 9 out of 10, thumbs up, thumbs down, and high recommendations to see it. So absolutely wonderful post there by Joseph. And again, I do agree with you on a lot of the points that you are making there. Definitely agree with you in regards to Luke and him removing himself from the Force, and then reconnecting himself with the Force, and it being taking such a toll on him that it killed him. He died from it, and I don't have a problem with all of that. I really don't. My problem here with the death of Luke, and my problem actually with how Luke was handled in this film as a whole, is the fact that I have a very hard time believing that Luke would even entertain the thought of killing his nephew while his nephew was sleeping, unarmed. I just don't believe that Luke would have done that. And I don't think, and I understand. I've made this comment on other YouTube channels in the comment section, and I've had people reply, "Well, Luke is human. He can have a moment of weakness where, and that is very possible. He is human. He can have those moments of weakness. But the problem I have with that is Jedi train themselves not to react to their emotions. They specifically train themselves not to react to their emotions. So, yeah, Luke could have that thought cross his mind. I don't have a problem with that. But then to have that thought cross your mind and then go into the act of grabbing your saber, and then not only grabbing your saber, but then you ignite your saber. And then after you've done all that, then you have the thought of, maybe I shouldn't do this. Well, that is more than just a split second moment of weakness. That is putting full thought into what you're doing. What they wanted to show you is that Luke, in this moment of weakness where he is being driven by his emotion, which again goes against what Jedi do, he not only has the thought cross his mind, but he goes into the act of killing his nephew before he realizes this is not the Jedi thing to do. This is not the way. This isn't what I should do. And I just can't believe for a moment that Luke would have behaved in that manner, especially when you're talking about him striking down his nephew, his sister's son, his best friend's son. I have a hard time believing that. And this is one of those areas where I believe that the writers and the director took some liberties with the Luke character, and didn't consider and ask themselves, is this really what this character would do? Would he actually really behave in this manner to this extent? And I don't think in my opinion, he would not have acted in that manner, and definitely would not have went as far as to grab his saber, pull it out, light it up, and then think to himself, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not buying that. And one of my biggest problems with this movie is how the Luke character was handled in that manner. But getting back to the death of Luke, don't have a problem with Luke. I think the projection force power was really cool. And if the character had to go out, I think that is one of the coolest ways to have a character, a legendary character like Luke Skywalker to go out. So I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is the fact that they use Luke as a vehicle to show how Kylo was created, and how, and to show that this is the reason why Kylo was pushed over to the dark side. I think you could have done it in a different manner. I think you could have portrayed it in a manner during a training session where things get a little out of hand, and Luke is forced to confront Kylo while he's awake and fully aware of what he's doing. But if he is forced to confront the darkness in Kylo, and something happens and the temple is destroyed and he goes into the, then I can buy that a little bit more, because at that point it's not, you're not putting the onus on Luke to say to himself, oh, I need to get rid of this guy, he's got darkness in him. No, you're putting you're what you're doing, if you do it in the manner that I just discussed, is that Luke has no choice but to confront the darkness in Kylo, because Kylo has pushed the issue, and I think that would have been a better way to do it, rather than to compromise this legendary character and really, I really think he took some liberties with the character that he should not have done there, guys. So that's my thoughts on Luke in this film. But great comment, Joseph, and I really want to thank you for all of your support to the channel, guys. All right, guys, and our next comment comes to us from David Somerset, and shout out to David Somerset. And David, I apologize. I know a while ago I told you I would give you a shout out, and it slipped my mind. I totally forgot, and I apologize, but shout out to you, sir. So David says, I'm halfway through, and so far you're right on point. Canto Bright, you're correct. They have to input the PC stuff and shove their agenda down our throats. It's unnecessary. Star Wars has always transcended all of that foolishness and does not need to be exposed so blatantly. With Leia, that scene was ridiculous and unexplainable. In the Clone Wars, Master Plo Koon was able to survive in deep space for a short time due to his advanced abilities in the Force, his alien skin being tough, and his respirator. Leia surviving was dumb and a wasted moment that made sense to write her out of the trilogy. I believe a lot of fans are missing the point in these new installments, that the Force is the main character and all is as it wills. It, which as a Christian I love, is subtle hint towards our Father. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. Stay up and love the channel. Still waiting for that shout out. So again, David, shout out to you, and I want to thank you for all of your love and your great comments on all of my videos. And I appreciate that you agree with me. I'm sure there are a lot of individuals who do not agree with some of the things that I've said in regards to the negative things that I've had to say towards this film. But the whole point is we do need to respect each other's opinion. I respect every single person that said that they absolutely love this movie and they didn't have a problem with any. As Joseph said, he loved the movie and he didn't have a problem with any of it except for a small portion of the movie. And I love the fact that he enjoyed this movie, because my whole wish for Star Wars is to keep this thing going and for the fans to continue to support it. And I'm most definitely going to continue to support this franchise, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to like every single thing that they put out through this franchise. Now, in regards to that moment with Leia, and I know I did speak about this in my review, but I wanted to go back to this. I have some mixed emotions about the part with Leia. The one thing I really love about that part with Leia is that the fact that she is showing her strength in the Force, and I really see what Rian Johnson was going for right there. He wanted to show her doing something so amazing and unbelievable that the fans would be in awe, like, oh, that is the great power of Leia. She does have a power that's equal to Luke. I think that's exactly what he was shooting for there. I think the execution of it was not that great. I know a lot of fans have a huge problem with that scene with Leia. It's not as big of a problem for me as it is some fans, but I most definitely do understand what the problem that those fans who didn't like that scene have with the scene. I do understand that. But great comment, David, and I appreciate your support to the channel. Right, and then our next comment comes from Alex Whitman. Shout out to Alex Whitman. Is there many space battles? That's a decline of the Star Wars franchise. Han Solo movie, I have a feeling, will blow in their faces. There is a lot of pressure on the Han Solo movie now that this particular movie has been so divisive amongst the fans. And of course, the Solo movie has not been without its controversy. When it comes to them removing directors and the script not being followed the way it was written, and now Ron Howard has taken over, and we're probably going to find out that he's had to reshoot a large percentage of the movie. So you kind of get into this dynamic that actually happened with the Justice League, where one director was not fired but removed from the project for personal reasons, and you had another director that had to take over, and then of course after the movie's release and the controversy has come out, and some people liked it and some people didn't like it, and fans want to know, well, how much of the film was Josh Whedon's and how much of the film was Snyder's film. The Solo movie has those very similar issues with it that could be a problem if the fans are not happy with the film. But we'll just have to see what Ron Howard is able to do with the film, if he's able to salvage the film. But more importantly, with the Han Solo film, the main actor who is playing Han Solo, and I want to make sure I get the actor's name, Alden Wright, I believe is the correct pronunciation for the actor's name. I think a lot of the success of that film hinges on him making the fans believe that he is actually young Han Solo. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to look for as we get closer to the Han Solo movie, guys. Remember, Han Solo movie is coming out, I believe, in May, if I'm not mistaken. So we only have a few months until we get our next Star Wars movie. So that is something to look for. And again, Alex, great comment, and I really appreciate your comment and your support of the channel. So our next comment comes to us from CM Skywalker, and CM Skywalker says, I saw The Last Jedi again today, laugh out loud, and bro, how did you make your intro? I really have to make one. Fantastic, very cool. Thank you so much, CM Skywalker, for the comment, and thank you for your support of the channel. Me and CM Skywalker are actually friends on Facebook, and he's been a really good subscriber and friend. And again, I want to thank you very much for your support. I'm glad you love the movie, and again, it's a very good movie. It's an enjoyable movie. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was really good. I probably will be watching the movie again. I'm going to buy it when it comes out on DVD. I think it's going to be one of those movies, just like the prequels, where even if you really didn't like the movie when you first saw it or when it first came out, I think over time people will come to like it more than they initially did, and it will be one of those movies that you will watch from time to time, just as you find that a lot of fans who didn't really like the prequels have now found themselves watching the prequels from time to time. And I think it's going to be the same thing with this movie as well. In regards to the intro, I had a friend of mine who created the video portion of the intro, and I just added the music and the text information to that. That's where that intro came from. But again, CM Skywalker, I want to thank you for the comment. The Down Low Show. Now, the Down Low Show, again, one of my frequent commenters. He's always showing up and commenting on my videos and making some really good points in regards to my Gotham videos and reactions, and of course anything Star Wars. The Download Show has been there and supported the channel, and I want to thank you very, very much for your support. So the Download Show says, I didn't like the Broom Kid at the end. What did you think? And I replied to the Download Show to this comment. I actually didn't have a problem with the Broom Kid at the end of the movie. I thought I understood what they were trying to do there. They were showing that there is hope for the galaxy. There are other children of the Force that are out there, and this is something that I didn't actually, in my review, I didn't actually connect it, but since this movie's come out, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this movie, like a lot of other fans have. And I think one of the things that we're going to get from Canto Bight may not seem important now. Even to me, Canto Bight doesn't seem that much of an important part of this film, of The Last Jedi. But I think over time, as more information comes out, I think when we get the visual guide for The Last Jedi, I think some things are going to come out in regards to Canto Bight that are going to play a factor in the events that are coming up. I think we may find, again, in regards to Rey, I believe I'm more and more believing that her parents may be well-to-do, and they actually may be from Canto Bight, and or what may have happened is, I think Rey may have started out as one of these children, these slave children on Canto Bight, and something happened where maybe she displayed some Force ability, or perhaps she was in danger of being taken away, and someone and it doesn't necessarily need to be her parents, but whoever it was that was taking off in that ship that we saw in her flashback, going away from her, perhaps they took her from Canto Bight and brought her to Jakku to hide her away. Perhaps she was among these kids who are enslaved on Canto Bight, and someone discovered how powerful she was, and she was in some type of danger, and they hid her away on Jakku. So that also could be a possibility, and that's kind of a theory that I've kind of come up with the more and that I think about Rey and her lineage and what Kylo had to say with her. And again, I'm basing a lot of that in regards to the Force vision, Rey's Force vision, looking at her parents fly away in that ship. When I look at that ship, it looks so Canto Bight to me. It looks like a ship that someone from Canto Bight would own. Now that we've been exposed to Canto Bight, I'm more and more coming with this theory that whoever dropped Rey off on Jakku may be from Canto Bight. So, but again, getting back to the Broom Kid, I loved it, and again, I understand why they did it, to let us know that there are other children of the Force out there, and that it's going to be up to Rey to find these children and start the new Jedi Order with these new children of the Force. So our next comment comes from Ward Lafferty. And Ward has been a frequent commenter on my videos. And Ward, I want to thank you very, very much for your time and your support of the channel. So thank you very much. And Ward says, I love The Last Jedi very much. Seeing it again, the phone bit with Poe and Hux was a major callback to Rowan and Martin's laughing operator bit done by Lillian Tomlin. I'll hold for Hux. Other than, is this the person to whom I'm speaking with to avoid copyright issues? And Ward, again, thank you very much for the comment, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the movie. And yeah, I noticed that phone bit and where it was from. And those of you who may not know who Lillian Tomlin is, she's a old school comedian actress, as Ward mentioned here, from Laughing. And I remember that bit, and it was a great callback to that bit. And I didn't have as big a problem with that intro, that joke being there in the beginning of the movie as some did, but I did feel like the joke went a bit longer than it actually should have. But again, I really did enjoy the humor in this film. I didn't have as much of a problem with the humor as a lot of other fans did. I know some people didn't like the humor. I thought there were a lot of times where the humor landed perfect. Our next comment here comes from Mike Ponier, and forgive me, Mike, if I mispronounced the last name. I apologize. But Mike simply put here, awesome. I have to go to work. I love spoilers. Love spoilers. Saw it. Amazing. Great video. Great video, man. May the force be with you always. And Mike and I are friends on Facebook, and Mike has been a great supporter of the channel and frequently comments on my videos. And Mike, I want to thank you very much for all of your support, and thank you so much for the comment. So guys, I also wanted to bring up this particular point that one of the members in my Star Wars chat group, and this is actually coming from the Urban Acolyte Star Wars chat group on Facebook, and one of the members, J. Bobby Backshot Arc, writes, and I want to give him credit because he comes up with a very decent opinion on why there's so much divisiveness with this film. He writes, I think the fandom is to blame for all the vitriol. People bitched about The Force Awakens, saying it was too much like A New Hope. Now, without spoiling anything, they go on a different direction, and people bitch about that. This movie has been overanalyzed from day one by the fandom. The problem, as I see it, is that the vast majority of the fandom are pissed off is because it's not the movie they built up in their heads or went the way they thought it should go based on theories that they liked. Put that shit aside and enjoy the movie for what it is, not what your favorite scrappy Snoke theory told you it should be. Now, I think that's a very good and valid opinion on why this film is so divisive. But the one thing I want to, and I responded to this particular comment actually, and I'm going to show you guys what I wrote. So this was my response to that particular post. Here's the problem. Between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, you have two different directors with two different visions in the same trilogy. The Force Awakens put those questions out there for us to theorize on. The Last Jedi took those questions and theories and pissed on them. Don't blame the fans for what The Force Awakens set up to be questioned. Blame the producers and writers who haven't written a consistent storyline in this trilogy. The movie tried to be so different and unpredictable, it ignored the one thing that Star Wars fans love to do: theorize and speculate. Nothing wrong with being a little bold and trying new things, but when it comes at the expense of turning a beloved character like Luke into what he's not, you're going to lose some of the fans. And that's what happened. It's not what fans built up in their minds and didn't get in The Last Jedi. It's what JJ and The Force Awakens set up and The Last Jedi did not follow through on. Too many chefs in the kitchen with different visions. And that was my response to that particular post. Now, I would be absolutely interested to find out what you guys thought about why certain people didn't like this particular movie and why others did like the movie. One of the other things that I've heard is in regards to the divisiveness amongst the fans that it's the majority of the old trilogy fans who don't like this movie, and the newer fans really enjoyed this movie and don't have as much of a hard time with the movie as the old school hardcore fans. And to a certain extent, I agree with that. Especially where the hardcore fans are concerned, because the hardcore fans are the ones like if you're watching this video, we like to break down and analyze everything and theorize and speculate. That's what we like to do. That's what we're in this thing for. That's why I'm a part of so many different Facebook chat groups, and why I decided to start my own Star Wars channel. Because I'm that passionate about this franchise. And there is a difference between a person like myself and the casual Star Wars fan that, yeah, he or she, has seen all of the movies and they understand certain aspects of the lore and the characters. But maybe they don't follow all of the EU stuff. Maybe they're not going around on all around the Star Wars YouTube channels and trying to pick up all of the lore and deeper information. Yeah, maybe the hardcore fans are the ones who have the biggest problems with some of the things that are in this film. But I also believe that, as I mentioned in my statement here, there were things that were set up in The Force Awakens that were not delivered in The Last Jedi. It's just those things like that, Rey's deep search for her parents. Her that was her biggest question. Well, of course we're going to obsess over who her parents are, because she wants to know who the hell her parents are. So it's not our fault for sitting here saying, oh, well, I think she's a Kenobi, I think she's a Skywalker. That's exactly what the people at Disney and Star Wars want us to do, is have these type of conversations. That's why Star Wars is different than any other franchise, because the fans are so obsessive, and so a good portion of the fans are so obsessive and so involved with the lore and the continuity and the characters. So when you have a movie that's as bold as this one, that really walks a real thin line between a lot of those things that have been consistent within the franchise for so long, and now he's kind of tweaked them a bit and stretched them a bit, I mean, you're going to ruffle some feathers. And maybe some of those feathers are old feathers. Maybe that's a valid point. But I still think that the thing that makes Star Wars special is because it does have these boundaries and these rules. And they're not perfect. Star Wars has always had plot holes. It's always had issues with continuity. But when you have issues that are so blatant as they are in this particular film, you're going to have a split amongst the fans. And some fans are going to be rubbed the wrong way. I mean, you could say, and I do feel this way, that I feel as though the legacy characters have been just props put up to draw the fan base in, but we were not given any real good payoff with any of the legacy characters. I think you could honestly say that Han's death was met with some disappointment and some dissatisfaction on how it was done. I think you could, now that we've gotten the Last Jedi, I think you can point to some fans not being satisfied with what we got with Luke, and now, unfortunately, with the death of Carrie Fisher, we may not get any satisfaction with her character because she can no longer play that role, and now the franchise has to improvise on that character, and that may not be satisfying to a lot of fans who have enjoyed these legacy characters for the better part of 40 years. So, guys, let me know what you think about all of this. Please like and subscribe. And I want to thank all of my subscribers for all of their support. Thank you so much. And may the force be with you all, always.